You know, I've certainly been in a number of meetings with him. If you look at the definition of meeting in Russian and in a Russian context, bad grammar,
you were using the Russian definition of meetings.
I actually had, it was a meeting that, or a dinner that was set up sort of at the last minute, and I ended up, you know, now that we're starting to learn the truth, it couldn't get any better for me.
But I'm just asking you straight up, like, just for a straight answer, you're saying I can't confirm or deny. USA Today's reported it. You told one reporter I had no meetings with the Russians. Now you're telling me I had no meetings with the Russians about the things they were talking about. I'm just trying to get a straight answer. Like, did you meet Sergei Kislyak in Cleveland? Did you talk to him?
I'm not going to deny that I talked with him.
Did anybody ever say to you anything about, hey, you know, here in Russia we have some stuff that might help you?
Absolutely. Not in that sense, no.
Might be announcing your foreign policy advisory team soon, if there's anything you can share on that.
We are going to be doing that, in fact, very soon. If you want, I could give you some of the names. I wouldn't
be delighted.
Carter Page, PhD.
Because you have said repeatedly that you were in meetings with the president.
Yeah.
You were in Moscow in December of 2016 at you held a press conference at the Sputnik headquarters, and you apparently, to reporters, you denied claims that you had never met Donald Trump during your time as an advisor, and you said, I've certainly been in a number of meetings with him.
Yeah. You know, I've certainly been in a number of meetings with him.
Now that implies I'm in a meeting in a conference room around a table. You're now saying those meetings were actually rallies.
That is, listen, if you look at the definition of meeting in Russian and in a Russian context, when they have large...
Do you speak Russian?
Yeah.
Really?
I get by. I can understand what's happening in meetings, and I can get my ideas across, but it's pretty ugly.
У нас в Грозном были уже Стивен Сигал, Майк Тайсон.
Милая коллега из пресс-службы.
И Дональда.
Вопрос у вас будет или только приглашение?
Нет, только приглашение.
Хорошо.
Всего доброго.
Тогда переходим к вопросу. Давайте.
Thank you so much. That is a great honor, and it's something I would love to consider myself, and I hope those possibilities, you know, for each of us may be possible over time. So thank you.
You're saying you were using the Russian definition of meetings. So did the hundreds of thousands of people who have been to rallies?
Hundreds. I mean, not you know, I've been in smaller
No,
rallies.
I'm saying the hundreds or tens of thousands of people who have been to Donald Trump rallies, can they say they've been in meetings with Donald Trump?
I've been in smaller ones as well. But
what's the smallest? I mean, have you actually been in a meeting where foreign policy was discussed?
Anderson, listen, they were often discussed in rallies, et cetera, as well.
Right, I know, but you know, if I go to a rally of Donald Trump's, it doesn't mean I'm an advisor to Donald Trump. It doesn't mean I'm going to a meeting with Donald Trump. I happen to be I'm at a rally. So you went to a bunch of Donald Trump rallies.
Yeah, and things like that, exactly.
You gave a quote.
They offered Page, identified as male number one, favors and business opportunities in Russia in exchange for information. He flies to Moscow more often than I do, one Russian spy told another about Page. It's obvious that he wants to earn lots of money. You promise a favor for a favor. The spies, posing as Russian trade officials, said Page provided them with documents on the U.S. economy.
When you went to Russia last summer, did you ever talk to any Russian about the Trump campaign or about the Clinton campaign or about the 2016 election in general?
No Russian official. I was speaking at a university, and I spoke with many scholars and students and parents that were at the graduation celebrating their kids' achievements. Other than that, nothing.
During both of his trips to Russia, Page met Arkady Dvorkovich, who is the deputy to Russia's prime minister.
Did anybody ever say to you anything about, hey, you know, here in Russia we have some stuff that might help you?
Absolutely. Not in that sense, no.
And when you got back from your trip to Russia, which was just academic in nature, you say, what did you tell people on the Trump team about your trip?
I just mentioned that there was, in general, from people on the street and the things you would hear in the media, enthusiasm for the possibility of a little bit of a warming in U.S.-Russia relations. And so,
but the House Intelligence Committee unearthed an email that Page sent to the campaign after the trip, where he described a private conversation with Dvorkovich, where he expressed strong support for Trump.
There's 5 people named there. One of them just got pinched, right? You're another one of them. What was the role of those 5 people who were named there? Were you guys on email chains together, you and Papadopoulos?
Look, there's a lot of emails all over the place when you're in a campaign.
Right, but yes or no, like, were you in email chains with Papadopoulos?
Probably a few, yeah.
Were you in email chains with him about Russia?
It may have come up from time to time. Again, there's nothing major, yeah.
Well, I mean, nothing major. It was enough for him to lie to federal investigators about and then plead guilty to, that he was having an intermediary come to him and saying, you should come to London and talk to someone who's got Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've been focused on other things today, but I've been getting calls all day asking this from various reporters, and I, finally hit back and I said, well, where's the main thing? What's your real question in terms of me? And they said, there's something in there about some meeting in August.
There's a footnote in this document, right, in which there's a back and forth about, well, should we set up a meeting? Should we have the candidate go himself?
Yeah.
And someone says, well, you can't send the candidate. It should be a low-level person. Let's discuss. We need someone to communicate that DT is not doing this trips. It should be someone low-level in the campaign so as not to send any signal. Now, you travel over the summer to Moscow.
Yeah.
Are you the person they're talking about?
I don't think so. I think that's a separate reference. And actually,
but you're not sure. When you say I don't think so, it's possible.
No, I definitely was not. I'm sure on that one that I wasn't, because it was very clear. And if you listen to the audio of or the transcripts of everything I said, I was always there just as a private citizen. And
So CNN's reporting that you told then Trump campaign advisor and Senator Jeff Sessions that you were going to Russia in July 2016. Although it wasn't related to your campaign work. Who else in the Trump campaign knew about this trip to Russia other than Jeff Sessions?
That mention, which was the big headline yesterday, was a brief comment as we were walking towards the elevator after having a dinner together. And so it was such a nothing event. And, as you correctly noted, I mentioned that, I'm heading over there, and totally unrelated to the campaign. So I actually had, it was a meeting or a dinner that was set up sort of at the last minute, and I ended up.
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. Campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians.
It's changing around my schedule because I was just getting ready to go in a couple of days. So I said, it was the only time I've ever met him. We had one dinner together, and I said,
Sessions.
it was great to meet you. I'm glad I was able to meet this in before I head to Moscow. I mean, it's totally in passing. It was.
And is he the only one on the campaign that knew about the trip?
I mentioned it to a few people.
Who else?
It'll come out. Things keep leaking in this from the investors.
Well, you seem to be one of the more transparent people in this entire affair.
Yeah.
Who else did you talk to?
Jake, of anyone in the campaign, I had the most negative impact on the campaign, just given the false dodgy dossier attacks that came starting in September 2016, 45 days before the election, give or take. Mm-hmm. So, I've already had so much of a negative impact given these false allegations. I'd like to minimize bringing more people into it.
Present the Kremlin. Since his last congressional appearance, 2 Trump campaign staffers have testified that they told Sessions they were in contact with what they thought were Russian officials, and that's jogged Sessions' memory.
But it was nothing. Yeah.
Not anybody ever say to you anything about, hey, here in Russia we have some stuff that might help you?
Absolutely. Not in that sense, no.
And when you got back from your trip to Russia, which was just academic in nature, you say, what did you tell people on the Trump team about your trip?
I just mentioned that there was, in general, from people on the street and the things you would hear in the media, enthusiasm for the possibility of a little bit of a warming in U.S.-Russia relations. And so,
had any contact with the FBI or the Mueller team since then?
What's interesting is, again, given those leaks, the Mueller team has been very professional in terms of not leaking.
So you have met with them?
I have no comment because they have not talked. They don't talk about, ongoing investigation.
But you wouldn't say that they've been very professional unless.
I wouldn't even talk. Well, no, I'm
unless
just saying,
you know of something that they didn't leak.
I'm saying they're very professional in the sense that they're not leaking all the time, like
Former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele's Trump dossier, Page said the allegations against him are baseless.
The stuff about me is just literally completely false in every way, shape, and form.
The dossier alleges Page met with Igor Sechin, CEO of Russian gas giant Rosneft, and reportedly a close friend of Putin and a former Russian intelligence agent.
I have never met Igor Sechin in my life.
Page may have not met with Sechin, the head of Rosneft, as the Steele dossier states, but he did admit in testimony to meeting one of Sechin's subordinates, Andrei Baranov, the head of investor relations at Rosneft, with whom he had a pre-existing relationship. Page went on to admit that they may have discussed sanctions in general terms, and that they may have discussed the planned sale of a large stake in Rosneft because it was in the news.